members, it is Sarah and Carolyn here from the Ripple Pond, and we thought we would hop on back for the new year, just having a think about how do we set ourselves up well for the new year. No matter what last year was like, we're going to kind of look ahead at what is this year and how we're going to think about this year. Carolyn, what are you like with New Year's resolutions? Are you in for them, not in for them?
Oh, I absolutely hate them. I cannot stand them. I just think they add so much undue pressure and stress, and you always struggle to think of, well, if you're like me, you always struggle to think of them anyway, and then when you do, you then struggle to keep them up. They last maybe like a week, and then you feel really, really terrible that you haven't managed to keep them up. So I don't do them. I haven't done them for years. I used to do them when I was younger, but no, not for me, I'm afraid.
So how do you focus around New Year? Do you kind of just go, okay, it's same old, or do you try and do something that sets you up well for the year?
So I hate New Year altogether. The reason being, I feel like all of the good things that have happened in the previous year, you're kind of saying goodbye to those as well as all the negative things that have happened, and you're going into the unknown, and I don't like that. I like things that are comfortable and known. So there's always a mixed sort of maybe a feeling of trepidation around New Year. But what I have done in the past that went really, really well was I bought a diary, and every day I wrote down either something that I did that made me happy, something that I was grateful for, someone that I really enjoyed spending time with, that sort of thing. And at the time I was going through quite a stressful period of work. And then after sort of the year, I suppose, you can go back and review it, and it helps you make choices. So you can say, right, well, clearly I really like spending time with that person, so maybe I need to invest more energy in that relationship. Or, oh, I really like going out and, getting out into the environment and going for a walk, so I think maybe next year I can focus on that. So that was where I found that really beneficial.
We did that as a family during COVID. Can you remember back to those days? So every week we'd try and do a little family get together, and we had a jar on the side, and everyone got to write on a piece of paper the thing that they were thankful for that week. And then we popped it in the jar, and then at the end of the year we opened up the jar, and there was a lot of I'm thankful for family, but there was also which was no doubt one of the children being grumpy and just right and whatever, but there was also loads of really, really positive things in there as well that were just things that we would have totally forgotten. And I've still got the jar on the side, and it's still got all of those things in it, and at some point I keep thinking I should probably just get rid of that. That's so long ago, but it's so lovely.
Yeah, I'd keep it, because it's always a good reminder. Everyone has those bad days, don't they, where you just feel like life is not going your way today. And just being able to dip into a diary or a jar and see that actually, even if you're having a bad day, there are some good things going on as well. And I think COVID was a big example of that, wasn't it? A lot of people really, really struggled. I mean, I had a newborn child and was living in a location where I didn't know anyone. So, I think there would be lots of people like that, and I just think it's good to reflect, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think there's something positive about a new year. I know for us, on years where we've had a really rubbish year, there's that kind of, okay, let's do a reset, mentally, I'm gonna push that stuff to the past, I'm gonna focus on the future. I think there can be a real drawing a line under the sand and trying to kind of intentionally make some positive changes. I agree with you. I'm not a fan of New Year's resolutions. I think I always set the bar too high and then fail them miserably, and that just adds to the mental load. But actually having the sort of a reset moment and saying, actually, what are the values that are important to me this year? What are the things I want to prioritize? How can we do that? Maybe let's get into a couple of small habits that are going to make a big difference. So, let's try and do a family night once a week, or I want to intentionally this year see some friends a bit more. Those kind of achievable, doable, but helpful little changes, I think, can be really good in the new year. I'm not up for the great big New Year's resolutions. I'm gonna get myself down to a size 10. I've never been a size 10. I just don't think my body's like that. But those kind of things, I just don't think they're achievable.
They're not helpful either, are they? But I know what is helpful is what you said about families and getting the families involved. because I think that's really nice, and it's building kind of, I suppose if you're a family that has been struggling, it's building good coping mechanisms for your kids as well. Moving forward on sort of reflecting what went well, what didn't work well, what we can do together as a family to maybe support each other, what other sorts of things can we look at. So I think it's a really good time to be really reflective as a family.
Yeah, I agree. Even if you don't have a young family, at this point, trying to kind of get on board some friends and say, hey, look, let's make some kind of promises that we're going to see each other a bit more, or anything where what your community is. And if feeling lonely and feeling isolated has been a bit of a hallmark of 2024 or the last year, then actually going, what things can I intentionally do to maybe break some of those habits as well? Because sometimes we step away, we feel like we're on our own, and actually sometimes that's completely out of our control, but there are often little things that we can do to make it a little bit of a difference. So you're just trying to reach out to some of those friendships that maybe we've lost along the way, or trying to get yourself into a netball club, or something positive that gets you out and about. One year, what I really wanted to do was doing like a watercolor class, so those kind of things that break my own imposed social isolation and try and push me back out again. But yeah,
I guess for me, I always say I'm probably not, but I feel really inwardly awkward around people. And I know we've sort of spoken about this before, haven't we? And for me to push myself out and do something like a class, or used to be in the military wives choir out in Cyprus, which I loved, but it was totally outside of my comfort zone. So I think for me, if I was to think about how to reach out to people, it would be probably more me reaching out via text or something initially, and just sort of dropping friends. I've got a friend that lives in Finland, for example, so I never see her now, but we quite regularly reach out and just say, hey, how's it going, how's the family, what's your new job like, and just kind of keep in contact that way. And one day when things are settled, we'll meet up and we'll go to Finland and we'll go and see the real Father Christmas, the Finnish one, the one that lives in Lapland. We'll go and see him, and it'd be great. But until that point, there are, like you were saying, little things that you can do to stay connected. But I think for me personally, going to like a big social gathering, I'm like, well, no.
Well, no, I wouldn't do a big social gathering, but like a small little class or something. For me, the idea was that it gives me a structure and I can't wriggle out of it.
Yeah, it is trickier to get out of them. Yeah, there is that.
But so many different things. So if you look ahead at this year, is there anything that is on your priority list to have a think about, or a value that you want to explore this year?
There's a couple of things. Family is always a really, really big one for me. I'm really kind of cognizant that my parents are getting older, and we live quite away from them. They live in London. We live in kind of rural Worcestershire, kind of Warwickshire border. It's quite hard to say that. So we live up there, so we don't see them as regularly as I'd probably like to. So I think we might start making a bit more of an effort to go to London. And then I think there's a thing with me, kind of as a person, I suppose, internally, is kind of letting things go a bit more. So I know for me personally, there are kind of triggers that are just really little things that make me panic and flap, and it's something that no one else would think of. But for me, it's a really big thing. So I need to just take a step back and be like, right, okay, this has happened. Can I control that? Actually, no, I can't control that. But what I can control is my thoughts and feelings about the situation. And I think for me, that's going to be really beneficial moving forward. Try just taking a step back and assessing, actually, is this me? Can I control that? Okay, no, well, I'm going to let it go then. I just need to let it go. And how about you? I was rapidly trying to think while you were talking, thinking I've posed a really good question. I think probably being okay with what I need as well. I often find that to be quite a tricky balance, in that, often balancing what my husband needs, what my kids need, what community around me needs, friendships. I'll quite often move around for all of those things.
but I'm not very good at figuring out what I need in a moment. And so I think for me, probably just taking a bit of stock to think about, is there things I need? And the one thing that I would really love, I don't know if it'll happen this year, but I would like to at least make steps towards it, is we have not taken the kids away abroad on holiday. I just want a holiday with sun, sea and sand, you know, like a pool. It doesn't have to be amazing, but I would like to make active steps towards that this year, even if it's just we get the money together to get our passports at least sorted.
Yeah.
We'll make a few steps forward towards that, because I feel like that's a real goal for us as a family, is to have a proper family holiday.
Sounds great. I'd like a holiday too, actually. Maybe I could add that to my list.
Yeah. I recommend it on the list. We'll have to let you know if it happens or not. But as members, we'd appreciate. Winter can be a bit of a tough time. All things going on, and sometimes coming into a new year can feel a bit like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Just encourage you. Please do keep reaching out to the community, but have a think about what's important to you this year, and don't feel any pressure to make any resolutions, but maybe a few values that are important that you think, actually, I want to hold on to those this year. Any other thing you'd add to that, Carolyn?
I would, I know from our conversations that we had last year, reaching out is a really big thing. So I would just echo the reaching out for support, whether that's your social circle around you, or that's the peer support at the Ripple Pond or anywhere like that. Just keep reaching out for support if you feel that you need that. And I think I really like the thing you said, moving in with a fresh mindset that it's a new year, and regardless of whether 2024 was good or bad or so, I think just having that new fresh mindset to kind of move forward would be something to consider.
Yeah, and if you've got any more thoughts, your top tips, maybe you love New Year's resolutions and you can help us understand how we can do those better. Maybe you have some great things for this year. We would love to hear about this, and we would love this to be a start of a conversation rather than the end of one. So please do chat about that. You may want to chat about it in your group, in the peer support, maybe with friends or neighbours. Just have a moment, say, okay, here we go. 2025 is here. What are we going to do? Is there something that we can do together and go forward? So hopefully, maybe that's just stirred a few little thoughts for you. But however 2024 has been, we want to say Happy New Year. And we really hope that you find some new, really positive things in this year, and that no matter what happens, no matter what goes ahead, that you find yourself rooted in a community that is cheering for you. Cool. We'll see you soon.
See you later.